Can you believe episodes 3, 4, and 5 of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man are setting up not Norman Osborn as the main villain of season 1, but Lonnie Lincoln? Welcome to Haynes for Heroes, I'm Alex Haynes, and if it's a movie or TV show about superheroes, you know I'm all over it. And these episodes not only show us the development of Spider-Man and his rogues gallery, but we also get an up-close look at the tragic origins of Lonnie Lincoln. So let's just swing right into this breakdown. Spoilers ahead. In my last video, we discussed the possibility of Norman Osborn already knowing Spider-Man's secret identity when he unexpectedly gives Peter Parker an internship at Oscorp. But in episode 3, we find out the truth. See, back in episode 1 when Spider-Man rescued Harry from those criminal streamers, this attracted the attention of Harry's father, Norman Osborn. And being grateful for saving his son's life, Norman wanted to repay Spider-Man, but first he had to track him down. Using the power of money, Norman Osborn was able to track down 4 potential people that were helping Spider-Man: Amadeus Cho, Jean Ricault, Asha, and of course Peter Parker. And this is why Norman created the internship at Oscorp in the first place, to see if he can use one of these 4 to get in contact with Spider-Man. But little did he know that Peter Parker wasn't helping Spider-Man, but he actually was Spider-Man. Norman Osborn wants to help Spider-Man solidify himself as a hero, especially after the Avengers disbanded because the events of Civil War also happen in this universe. Norman helps Spider-Man by finding crimes throughout New York City and also giving him strategies in the middle of battles. Norman also creates a bunch of new suits for Spider-Man to wear with various upgrades, but none of them seem to work quite properly. That is until we get to the absolutely beautiful white Spider-Man suit, which comic book fans will know as the Future Foundation suit. Later on, Harry Osborn accidentally discovers Spider-Man's identity, so Norman decides to have Harry be Spider-Man's new guy at the desk whenever Norman isn't available. Not only does Harry prove to be extremely valuable to Spider-Man's crime fighting, but a strong friendship begins to form between the two of them. And in their moments of bonding, Harry gives Spider-Man the idea to add a little bit more color to his suit, specifically red and blue. So Spider-Man teaming up with the Osborns is proving to be extremely helpful, and that's good because he's gonna need all the help that he can get because new supervillains are starting to pop up. Criminals, if they have the money for it, are getting access to high-tech weaponry, turning themselves into supervillains, and we meet the first one back in episode 2 with Butane. And if you remember, Butane had a strange logo on his flamethrower that resembled like an 8, but we'll get into that later. In episode 3, Spider-Man has to fight off against 2 new villains called Speed Demon and Tarantula, who also get these high-tech weapons from this mysterious benefactor, both of them having that same strange logo on them. And it's not until episode 5 where we find out the identity of this benefactor. In this episode, we meet the criminal Mila, who eventually becomes the supervillain Unicorn. She has like this high-tech helmet that shoots laser beams out her forehead. And when she goes to get that helmet, do you know who gives it to her? Dr. Otto Octavius, also known as Doc Ock. That explains the strange logo. It's 2 O's for Otto Octavius. Or it could still be an 8 because he becomes Dr. Octopus, and octopuses have 8 appendages. Boom! We find out that Octavius has a vendetta against other geniuses in the Marvel Universe, like Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, but most notably Norman Osborn. And he's selling these high-tech weapons to criminals as a way to show off his brilliance to the world. As of right now, we don't know what Octavius's big plan is for this series, but what we do know is that he's gonna continue selling these dangerous weapons to criminals, which will then lead to more supervillains. And unfortunately, one of the people that I think is gonna get their hands on that tech and become a dangerous supervillain is Lonnie Lincoln. So far in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, a ton of time is dedicated to Lonnie Lincoln's story, which originally I believe that Norman Osborn was going to be the main villain of this season, but so far there's no indication of that. We've just been focusing a lot on Lonnie Lincoln, and with each episode we're witnessing Lonnie's evolution into becoming a supervillain. Lonnie's little brother joins the 110th Street Gang, and in order to rescue him, Lonnie takes his little brother's place in the gang. And at first, he's not at all about it. But in episode 5, Lonnie is forced to get into a large gang fight against the Scorpions, who are led by Mac Gargan, who we all know will eventually become the Scorpion. But during the fight, Lonnie saves Big Donovan from being stabbed by Gargan, and ultimately proves his loyalty to the 110th Street Gang. After this, Big Donovan officially welcomes Lonnie into the gang and gives him the nickname Tombstone. I have a feeling that Tombstone will eventually go to Doc Ock to get some gear that will make him an official supervillain. In the comics, there was like an experimental gas that gave him powers, but in this series, since everyone's going like the tech route, he could be getting like a battle suit of some kind. Because most of the series is dedicated to Tombstone's fall into villainy, that makes him the most likely candidate to be the main villain of this season. I also think Spider-Man will be trying to help Tombstone get out of the gang life, because this version of Spider-Man is more willing to help people get out of a life of crime, like he did with the pizza shop thief. But Tombstone obviously is going to be a much bigger problem because he only got into the gang life to help his family. So Spider-Man is going to have to find some way to ensure the safety of Tombstone's family if he's going to think of getting him out of it. But what did you think of these episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man? Do you think Tombstone is going to be the main villain of this season? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, shoot a web at the like button and then click on the boxes right here. And I'll see you in a bit.